Hey Lauren, I'm going to make a quick video on how to solve for the direct labor cost. You have to keep in mind the formula that we're using. We're using total cost equals direct labor plus direct materials plus overhead. Now, in order to find direct labor, we need to remove direct materials and overhead from our problem. So, we are going to be using this formula here in order to do that. Now, we do need to find out what our direct materials for this period is. So we're going to be using another formula to find that out. So we're going to use direct materials. We're looking at the beginning materials. I did abbreviate a lot of this. So if we go up, our beginning materials is going to be 0 because this is our first month of production. So we had nothing in the beginning of the month. Okay, and now we're going to go to purchases, which is 244, 200, and we're going to minus out the end, okay, which is right here. Minus out the end, 33, okay, which will give us our direct materials. If you take this number, subtract that one, you should get 211, 200. Okay, now we're going to scroll down. Now we're going to be looking at total manufacturing cost, which is actually the formula we need in order to get our answer for this particular problem. We're going to be taking our total manufacturing cost, which they give us up here. So 455, 400. Direct materials, which we solved right here. Direct labor, which we don't know. And then our overhead. Now, when looking at this problem, I only see 2 categories that are overhead. And as we discussed, overhead is something that is not directly linked to the product. So indirect labor is considered overhead, and factory depreciation is considered overhead because they cannot be traced directly to the product. So let's see here. You would add these 2 up, and that would give us our overhead, which is 198. Okay. So we would drag that down to here. All right. Now we have everything we need to find out what the direct labor is. We're going to go ahead and remove this and this from 455, which should give us should give us 46,200. This should be our answer to this particular problem. Now, I have another formula down here, and you might be asking, why do I have it there? Well, that's just so that I can explain why we are not using cost of goods manufactured. Now, we're not using cost of goods manufactured. We're using the total manufacturing cost for this period because we're looking for a cost that occurred during this period. And when it comes to cost of goods manufactured, they're removing the cost that is leaking into next month, and they're considering the cost that was in last month, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to give you an example of this right down here. So we have cost of goods manufactured that we are going to look at, but I'm actually going to solve for it even though it gives the answer above. So we have our TMC, which we said was the total manufacturing cost that we already know what it is. So we're going to add that down here. Plus beginning work in process, which I want to say, no, you figured out end work in process. I know you figured out one of them. Beginning is actually 0 because, again, we had nothing in the beginning. And then the end was 59,400. 59,400. 400. You solved this using, well, you should have used this formula right in front of us. If you had solved this any other way, I don't know how you did it. But you had to have used the formula that we're doing right now. This would equal this number up here, the 396. And you can check my math if you want, but 396. But the way you would have solved this particular answer would have been by this formula and plugging it in to get this as an x. So pretty much what they're doing is they're adding in the beginning working process. When you have a beginning working process, this does, change calculations and things like that. And they are taking out the ending working process. So they are doing what was done and finished for the month. While up here, it is not doing that. Okay? And that is why we're using those numbers. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me. You have my cell phone number, and I will explain them the best I can. Thanks.